Okay. This is the Office 365 CLI event session with Rabia Williams, and it's all about managing Microsoft 365 from any OS with this command line tool. Shall we go on to the next slide and get the ceremonies out of the way?
Sure.
Of course, Microsoft 365 May would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this online conference is being hosted, and the traditional custodians of the lands where our Australia-based speakers and participants are located. We would also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. And also there is a code of conduct to observe for Microsoft 365 May, and the quick version, we're dedicated to providing a harassment-free conference experience, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, age, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, religion or lack thereof, or technology choices. There is a full version of the code of conduct up on the website, m365may.com/code-of-conduct. So that's the ceremonies out of the way. Welcome, Rabia, to the session.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's great to see. I know there are a lot of people I can't see who has joined, but thank you so much for joining on a Saturday. I'm pretty sure everyone's at home, so that's great. So I'll begin then. Hey.
Yeah.
I'll start with a small introduction of myself. My name is Rabia Williams, and I'm a developer at Engage Squared. I've also recently been awarded the Microsoft MVP award for Office development. You can reach me out at Williams Rabia is my Twitter handle, and rabiawilliams.com is my blog, where I usually post at least one blog per month on stuff that I really like. That's about me, and today we're going to be talking about Office 365 CLI. Like Mark said, it's a command line tool to manage M365. But before I begin and talk about this awesome tool, I'll just go back, a few years back, when everything was very Microsofty. So let's just dive into that as well, just to compare what it was in the past and what it's like now in the future. So back in the days, like when I was a developer, a .NET developer and a SharePoint developer, everything was run by Microsoft. Everything that you have to do, develop on, query things on, everything was based on Microsoft products. And I could even say that Microsoft was firmly at war with open source. If you remember the time when Steve Ballmer was CEO, things were a little like, against Linux. I know people change, things change, perceptions change. We changed these past couple of months on how we how we perceive job and work from home. So, everything changes. So Microsoft even called, I think, not Microsoft, but Linux was called cancer at some point. But things have changed. Microsoft loves Linux. This happened, as you can see. And now, today, Microsoft is a member of the Linux Foundation. They're like one of the biggest contributors to open source initiatives. SharePoint framework is built on open source technology stack, which is now, I think, the most popular framework of all used for SharePoint development. So yeah, things have changed, but the tools, hey, when you're working on Microsoft stuff, when you're working on a SharePoint project, if you were a Mac user, if you're using some other operating system than Windows, how would you query stuff? How would you, manage stuff? Still, you have to open up a VM window and use PowerShell, things like that. Things could get, a bit complicated. It wasn't easy. So, for that tool to manage that, to take care of all these, new ways of working, new ways of developing, Office 365 CLI was born. when I keep saying that, what cross-platform is, what agnostic OS is, I'll just give you an overview of what this tool is. So this tool is a cross-platform command line interface. It actually integrates Azure Active Directory authentication. It will let you manage SharePoint, manage Teams, manage Power Automate, everything in just one tool. So I keep saying what it's cross-platform is OS agnostic. So maybe just to give you a bit more information on what that means. It means that it works on any operating system, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, any shell, PowerShell, Bash command, whatever you're using. And it also provides you a unified login. You don't have to log in separately for doing team stuff. You don't have to log in separately for doing Yammer stuff. It's all integrated in one tool. And not a lot of people know about that. So maybe it's a question as well. Maybe Mark, you could put a question or something like, have you heard of Office 365 CLI? If you have, then give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, then maybe a sad face. Nothing too dramatic, but just a sad face, just to get an idea of who knows more about this. So yeah.
Just, actually, before we carry on there, we do have questions and answers available, and we are receiving your questions. Thank you very much. We will keep the questions until the end, and perhaps Rabia can help answer those after the call. But yeah, sure. do feel free to put a thumbs up or a thumbs down, as per what Rabia said, and we'll put those out to the Q&A section.
Yeah, and Mark is also a fellow contributor to Office 365 CLI, so he can help me out as well. So any question, just ask him, don't ask me. No, it's fine. Cool. Yeah, so that's what it is all about. That's how useful this tool is. So why it is so important now to know about this tool is because the way we develop things have completely changed. You don't need like a full .NET or a SharePoint developer skill set anymore. Of course you need it, but you could also just have a React developer or an Angular developer or just a JavaScript developer work on your projects as well. So this is important because not everyone's using Windows. There are many developers who do a lot of front-end development, use just Mac or some other operating system, and they can easily go in and do stuff. They actually don't need to worry about their infrastructure and stuff. And they really don't have to have a VM just to get things done. So that's why it's so important. So I'll show you how many commands and services they have in Office 365 CLI. This is just a vague number I just pulled in, just to show how many we have. This may be more every week. There's more commands coming in, more things being built. So it's an open source project, so we depend on the community to give in more commands and stuff. So this is probably like the best number I can give for now. So you can see that SharePoint Online has a large number of commands. SharePoint Framework has 3 very interesting commands, which I will be demoing as well. We've got Yammer, we've got OneDrive, Graph, Teams, Azure AD, Power Apps, etc., etc. So how do you get started? All you need is to install Node.js, and because it's obviously a node-based application. So all you need is have a Node.js installed, and then install this PNP Office 365 CLI. You can install the main, the GA version of it, as well as there's a preview version as well, because it releases every week, and we've got new commands coming in, fixes coming in. So for that, you have to go to the second command, that is the Office 365 CLI at next beta. You can also use Yarn to install this tool. So there are 2 ways. there are two ways in which you can log into Office 365 CLI. One is the immersive mode, and the other is the non-immersive mode. So immersive mode, if you are just doing some scripts to check some things, maybe get a list of all the list items in a SharePoint list, or to get the channels in a team, you're just doing it directly in the command line shell or whatever you're working. In immersive mode, you get autocomplete options. You do get in non-immersive as well, but there are a few things that you need to do beforehand to do that. Non-immersive mode is like probably the most used for me, at least personally, because you can use it for scripting, for automation, for your CI/CD pipelines. It doesn't need user interaction. You could just prepend O365 in front of every command, and you can just use it. So this is probably used by mostly for all that automation scripts. So the next one is the login options. To log in, you have three options currently. You can use the device code, which is, again, an interactive where you get a window. You can put your login details. You're not putting your username or password anyway. You also have a username and password. It's perfect for scripting. If you want to automate things, then you could also do a very non-interactive way of logging in. You can also do it through certificate for extra security and stuff. Authentication, you have Azure Active Directory Service Principal, so you have to give a consent, you have to grant consent. This is required in the beginning. Then you everything else like token swapping and refreshing your tokens, everything runs in the background. For Yammer commands, you have to give an extra consent for the application to get into the Yammer APIs. Also, probably this is the last slide about the whole overview of Office 365 CLI. There are these common options. So you have your command, like if you have your command that you can run, you also get these options in every command. One is help to get you started with if you've got questions about what options you have to put in this and what it does and things like that. You have the help option. You have output option where you want to script, get your data into a JSON or a text format. You could even do that to get stuff into your files. Verbose is just get you a friendly message of things when it's done and things like that. Debug is when you really want to go full blown into that command and see what's happening. That you're getting your access token back or things like that. If you want to go in details of the calls made. And also you've got this awesome query option, which uses James Path querying mechanism. So it's like a language that you use to query JSON. So you can do that as well. Cool. So I think I gave an overview because this is just such a short session. I'm also gonna have a break now to give a competition QR code, and after that we'll jump into a demo. So here we go, competition week 1. So if you are a registered participant, you can scan the QR code. Maybe I'll give it to Mark to give a bit more details on the competition and prices.
You've surprised me there. I'm actually not across the prizes that are available through through the week, but there's been some very generous offers from our sponsors to enable prizes to be won by participants. You must have registered on Eventbrite in order for the prize to be offered, but do scan that QR code and feel free to enter the prize.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mark. So I'll give a moment for everyone to scan the QR code. Meanwhile, I'll jump in and share my, if I stop sharing, I stop sharing, right? So yeah, just for a few more seconds more. And we'll share my screen to my editor of choice today is Visual Studio Code. Cool. So now I'm going to share my screen to show my Hello World web part, a bit more than Hello World today. But I just want to prove the point, like I haven't opened my bash or anything. I'm just opening up my SPFX web part that I have here. I hope at least some of you know what SPFX web part is if you've been developing. I've just created probably like a hello world thing, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just in my terminal inside my Visual Studio Code. Just trying to find out some stuff. Cool. So in this, I hope everyone can see my screen. Mark, is that fine?
Yeah, it looks all good from my end. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So what I'm going to do here, as I mentioned, that it gives you, you can manage Office 365 using the Office 365 CLI, but I just want to quickly show you some of the SPFX commands that we have, which is really cool. The first one I would show is like probably this is one of the most used command, I would say, like right, Mark, to upgrade a project. At the moment, it's really a painful process if you're going to do it, just step by step, upgrading stuff, upgrading the packages in your SPFX project.
Yeah.
But we use it a lot. I know that in our team. So this is like really, really useful command. What it basically does is it will give you the list of things you have to do manually, but it will just give you a very good, idea or a document of how you can upgrade your SPFX project. So I'll just show you in a second. So I'm in my non-immersive mode, Office 365. So I already have my my package installed for Office 365 CLI. I also try to log in just to save some time. So what I'm going to do is, but you don't need to log in for SPFX commands, but you do need them for querying your tenant details. So Office 365 SPFX project upgrade. No typos. So yeah, it gives you information on all the things that you have to do, you have to update, etc., etc. But I really want to see a document as such, so I can give it to maybe one of my fellow developers to say, hey, this is a document to upgrade this project. Would you like to help me out with this? If I want to do that, then I'm just going to go in and ask for help. So I know that I could use this command to get a markdown file for it. So I'm just going to do that. So I'm just showing you some of the features while demoing. I know that this project is 1.9.0, so I want to upgrade it to the latest version of SPFX, which is 1.10. So what I'm going to do, what I'm actually doing here is I'm asking for the upgrade file, but I want to output as a markdown file. So this is the command. So as you can see, I already got my file here. I'll open the preview, and you can see a nice, beautiful document which would help you upgrade your project in like a few minutes, which is so easy and so convenient. And given that in this new way of developing, the versions change so frequently, that this is so handy. Another awesome, cool SPFX stuff, since I'm very passionate about SPFX myself, so I'm just demoing all of these things. Cool. So it's called SPFX Doctor. So this is a very recent command, but I really love it. It just scans your environment and give you information on if there is something missing, if something is wrong in your environment that you need to fix for this SPFX project to work. So I haven't switched my node version to 10. So my SharePoint framework version for this project is 1.9, and it requires something 10 and above. So it has given me information on all the environmental details of which should be, for your project to be successful. So which is really cool, and I really like it. It's like a quick thing that you could do, and you could get stuff. So next, I'm going to demo quickly on a Teams command. So Office 365, oops, Office 365 Teams. I want to see some channels in a team that I know. I obviously know because I know there's a presentation and I've copied the GUI ID of the team ID. Whoops, keep doing this. Team ID. You probably know it if you want to, do things. So Office 365 Teams channel list. So I'm listing all the channels in a team. It's also very readable, I think. It's nothing like, oh, Cool. I got all the teams that I needed. I got their IDs as well. So I've shown you Teams one. I will show you next a term store one because I love term stores. I'm very weird. Office 365, SPO. Term. So it's an SPO command. So you can see that I've just logged in as one. I have just done one logging, and I'm doing things like I'm doing work on my SPFX project. I'm doing work on my Teams. I'm doing work on SPO. I'm getting some term set details. So term list. I want to list all the terms inside term set. So list. Term group name people. I know people is everywhere. And term set name is department. These are the default ones, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be there. Cool. Awesome. So I've got all the terms in my term set department as well. So you can see how useful it is. I've been switching from context one to another, and that gives you an idea of how you can work on this tool. So that's the end of my demo. So we'll quickly go back to the slides again. Stop sharing this and share my slide again. Whoops. Cool. So still on my QR code sign. So next one is I already did the demo. Oops, sorry. I did my demo. It's a small video. Unfortunately, we cannot play the audio here, but I'll let you see the demo, see this video because it's really cool. So what's happening here is just some commands in different shells. You can also see how you're setting the CDN, apps, app catalog version, list of sites in your environment, flow environment. So Teams, you can also get some device usage reports for Teams, Power Apps component. That's the one I just demoed for upgrade. And we also have some custom scripts ready-made that you can use. The music was really good for this video. It's a shame we couldn't share it.
We can hear it slightly in the background, I believe. But
slightly? Oh.
Yeah, just very faintly. So.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yep. So what's cooking? And this project, even though it's open source, it's actively maintained. We've got great maintainers at Office 365 CLI. Every week there's a release. Every month there's a major release. And you should see if you go to the GitHub pages, you can see the issues and pull requests. It's just flowing every single day, and over 600 issues. When you say issues, it's not really like bugs or stuff. It's also new commands and new requests that people make, new enhancements. So 600 issues closed over 2 years. So you can see how active it is. I also promised that if you want to be part of this team and do contributions, I will give you a quick overview of what you actually do. I know Mark started it in Engage Squared. He's the first contributor from our company, and then I followed his lead. I also became contributors. It's really simple. If you know to make REST calls, if you know to do some really quick API calls, that's all you need. You need your your shell. It's again agnostic, inclusive for development. You just need an editor of choice, and you can start working on it. So you can probably see my screen here. And in Office 365 CLI, you can see issues. You can go in and pick an issue. So when you pick an issue, you can look for good first issues, which would be like the simple commands that you can make. So starting from there, there are also like different projects you can contribute to, like documents. You can contribute to say simple sample scripts. Like if you can use sample scripts to do some things together, you could do that as well. So there are different ways you can go in and have a look, because it's also a great repository of code that you can even use in your day-to-day lives. You can go in and see the commands and see what APIs they call, just to get an understanding of all those APIs available out there. So it's like a good place to go in and have a look at. And also the references are, if you want to take a screenshot or photo, you can go in and have a look at these things. Please do follow Office 365 CLI in Twitter. So if you've got any questions that we cannot answer here today, or if you've got more questions, or if you've got a suggestion of a new command that you would like to see in Office 365 CLI, go to their GitHub repository and open a new issue. Maybe you can take it up yourself. Also use a hashtag Office365 CLI if you have questions and if you want the maintainers to have a look at your question. And finally, thank you to all our sponsors. Do you have something quick to say, Mark, here, or?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Thank you, of course, to our sponsors. There's a great level of funding that's come from these sponsors, and it's great that we've been able to put on this month-long event with thanks to these guys. So I really appreciate their input. And yep. Of course, good work, Rabia, for the session.
Thank you.
We do have one question that came through from Dan.
Yep.
I'll read it out verbatim. Just curious which parts of SharePoint are built on open source. Is this part of the MS Core SharePoint or just third-party additions? That's a really good question, isn't it? Because it is I guess it's termed a third-party.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it? It would
yeah,
be.
It could be. Is it about the whole tool itself, the question?
I think we're referring to SharePoint it's quite a broad question, isn't it? So how much of SharePoint these days is open source? And it is a good question because and to your point at the start of the session, there were Microsoft is embracing open source, and not in the old embrace and extinguish sense, but actually embracing. We should be very clear about that.
Yes.
And it is a good question because the development ecosystem for SharePoint now is very much in the open source space, right?
Yes, it is.
You and I use a lot of open source licensed software to do our job.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So even if you go online, you can see so many samples even provided by different parts. I think like at least thousands of hours being put by developers all across the world to give you an open source experience. Like you can just collaborate and work on stuff. So yeah, it's a good question, but yes, it is. I think it's going that direction, right?
Some examples might be, so the user experience, the UI components of SharePoint's modern, the modern UX, not so much the classic UX, is a lot of those components are now open source. They're referred to as a Fabric UI. recently changed. Sorry, what is it? No, Fluent UI.
Fluent
is
UI, yes.
name.
Just
It
changed
used to be
last week,
Fabric
I think.
UI. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I know.
site name change, but that is an open source project in itself based on React, which in itself is a framework that's open source. React was originally started from Facebook. And the maintainers of React are actually mostly dedicated in the Facebook team. So there's a lot of cross-pollination, if you will, across different, even different companies, different people. There's individuals like ourselves that contribute here and there to things like the Office 365 CLI. So I think the old way of thinking of whether it's third party and therefore not approved versus first party Microsoft and therefore approved, it's not really the case anymore. They're moving to a model where it's more about the knowledge and understanding of the system, the ecosystem that you're working with. And the example of Office 365 CLI is a really good one.
Yes.
Where sometimes you might want to do something and enable a function, but it may be frowned upon because it kind of puts your Office 365 tenant in an unsupported state. And so we have trust in that open source community, and this one's headed up by Waldeck Mastercars, I think is the main guy. There's a couple of others that are very high level contributors as well.
That's right.
And they have a constant discussion with the product team on an ongoing basis of whether a way of doing things is the right way to do things. And that's where the glue is, of whether it's the endorsed way or not. And Office 365 CLI is definitely one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those, because you can see even in Microsoft documentations, if you go, you can see when they're talking about a feature, they're talking about the PNP PowerShell commands, and they're also putting Office 365 CLI commands as well in their Microsoft documentation. So it's like there's already that very welcome sort of a thing there for this tool.
Yeah, I can contribute to some of the Microsoft documentation that's up on the docs.microsoft.com site. It's actually, if you look on GitHub, you can find the source repository for that. You can submit what's called a pull request to that source repository, and that pull request would have the changes of whatever, if you found something not quite right in the documentation. You can establish that and create it as a pull request. It won't necessarily be accepted, but at least there's a very sort of back and forth, easy way to collaborate on it. And that just creating that pull request, and this is the case for any open source project run by Git.
Correct.
Just by having that pull request generated by yourself, you might spark a conversation about whether it's the correct way to do something or not. So there's definitely a good reason to to think about the changes that Microsoft are doing to facilitate their open source capability.
Yep. So when you said that, I thought maybe I'll share my screen and show, how you can get to that GitHub page for Office 365 CLI, because, you can see the pull requests and stuff. It might be worthwhile. So I'll just stop sharing my screen. Do we have other questions?
Let's have a look. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. Just a few comments. There is a sort of a bit of an admin question. Do we upload recordings? I believe there will be a recording of this session uploaded to YouTube, and we'll be able to publish them through the M365 May website when they're published through YouTube. So it may take a bit of time for us to get the production right, to get that out there. But yes, we'll be uploading the recordings of all the sessions across the event. Yep.
That's cool. Awesome. Did we get a lot of thumbs ups for people who already know about 365 CLI?
We had I think we had a few. Some people were using sad faces in lieu of a thumbs down. But yeah, no, it looks like this is the first time for most people that have attended. So hopefully
That's
we've been able
incredible.
to,
Yeah.
your information here has been really helpful.
Yep.
Shall we look at the GitHub?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So this is basically the website you can go to and see all the commands that I just talked about. So you can have a look on how to use them as well. It's really handy. I probably would recommend everyone who's interested just to even bookmark it. I have bookmarked it. So to get to the GitHub, you can go from the website. You can see the GitHub option here. So click on that, and then this is where all the magic happens, where people are contributing. You can see there's a lot of noise as well, and you can, I think this is like a big place where you can come in and have a look at even code or look at the new issues. Basically, it's like, if you want to work on something, you could come in here and ask a question. Hey, is there a command to do this? If it's already there, then there will be a reply. And the beauty about this project is how well maintained it is, and how you could get reply back in a day or two maximum. So it's not like other open sources where you're used to seeing opening issues or opening pull requests and it's staying there for months. That's not the case here. It's cooking really fast here. As you can see here, this is a list of all the things you can work on. So if you click on good first issues, you can see all the things that you can go in and help the team as well. You can see things are cooking, or you can see all the pull requests that's coming in and stuff, which is really great. 21 pull requests, come on, it's amazing.
They're just active ones, aren't they? I think at the moment.
Yeah.
If you look through all of them from your dot, it would it'd be a phenomenal number. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So
we do have another question from Julianne.
Yep.
Any specific permission or role is required on Office 365?
Yep.
So permissions is, I think you touched on it, the ability to log in through different mechanisms, through device code or through the other options available.
Yeah.
And there's a process to establish the right permission levels in the tool when you go through that authentication, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. So in Office 365 CLI, you have to give consent to access stuff beforehand. So it's like in the beginning, it's not a dynamic scope based where you can do it every now and then and change up the scope. You'll have to give permission to these many things that the tool would need access to. So that's like the first step you do when you log in. You'll have to do it in a interactive way. So you'll have to log in and give all this consent of your tenant, and then you can start using the tool. So that's how you have to do. You'll have to give administrative consent to things.
Yeah. So through that login process, isn't it? It's the first. If you haven't used the tool before, you'll be presented with a consent screen. You may be familiar with the Azure Active Directory consent screen.
I think I have
other
it
tools as well.
My slide, yeah, I do have that in my slide. So
that's we could put it up.
Yep, I will. I'm just going to share that now. Okay, I'm really bad at PowerPoint. I shouldn't be saying this online.
Great at Visual Studio Code. Not so powerful, I don't know.
I know, right? So bad. Cool. So this screen, hopefully I've shared this right screen. So this you will get this in the beginning when you do for the first time using that tool for the tenant that you are trying to log in. So you have to give access to these things. It's upfront what we have to do, and then you can use the tool and log in and stuff every time you want. So if you're using for the first time for the first tenant, you'll have to give admin access to all these things for the app.
And there is work to both on the Azure Active Directory front and also on the Office 365 CLI front to be more incremental about the permissions or roles that are required.
Yeah.
So that's a part of this solution, and it's not just Office 365 CLI that's impacted by this. The capability of Azure Active Directory as a security platform to be more incremental about the permissions that you do and don't grant. Those capabilities are being rolled out over time, and perhaps it's a good opportunity to see in the near future what Office 365 CLI will give you in that ability as well.
Definitely.
I do know other tools are having a similar sort of development path, being more incremental about how much permissions.
Yep. And if you go to the issue section, I think it's already being discussed, and we're probably they are looking into things, to go, GA for them to use these kind of, libraries and stuff to make that possible. So yeah, it's a good question, very relevant.
Oftentimes when we work with customers, there, it'd be a security team that we have to establish to gain access to the environment to perform a deployment or whatever.
Yep.
And it's one of the first questions that they would ask is what level of access. And if you're saying, actually, we need this much access, then sometimes the security guys will go like, well, you're not getting it. So,
the moment you say access, that's when they start freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah. But there is a grant mechanism in place to establish the permissions, and it's worthwhile taking a look at those, and also taking a look at the development path for a lot of tools, not just this one, the Office 365 CLI.
That's right. Cool. Any more questions? And how are we doing on time? I think. Oh,
we are 10 minutes over, but we still have a few people hanging on. So I guess we can still keep talking. I don't see why not.
I know. Let's take this slide off, because I scared of authentication in general. It's like, don't give people more ideas to ask.
Yeah, just a last call for questions. We don't have any more, but I think that's been a really valuable session for some people. So thank you very much, Rabia, for taking us through the Office 365 CLI.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it made it more easier because I've got a Office 365 champ here as my producer. So I was like, in the morning, I was so nervous. And then you came up and said, hey, I'm the producer. I was like, thank you.
And do you have other sessions throughout the rest of the Microsoft 365 May event?
Yes, I do. In fact, I have it in 2 weeks. It's really cool. It's again very devy. It's SPFX with Azure Functions. Right.
That sounds like an excellent topic for developers and the not so developers as well.
Yep, that's right.
Very cool. So do take a look at the sessions page to find when that's on. It's in a couple of weeks' time, isn't it?
Yes, it's on a Saturday, so no excuse. I know you're not going anywhere. No one's going anywhere.
What more can you do with a Saturday in these lockdown times than to hang out with us?
Yeah, that's right.
The Microsoft 365 May team.
Yep.
Very good. Cool. Well, thanks again. Good job with the session. And thanks to everyone who joined us on the call.
That's right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mark. Cheers.